UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts. I am your host, Amy Nelson, and we are back together, and it feels so good. Patrick, how are you?
I'm doing great now. Finally, we get to talk Picard.
Finally. It's been a quick minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about it beforehand. We've actually podcasted with other people more than we podcasted together for this series.
It's just crazy how it has worked out. Vacations and plans and life and...
Mostly vacations.
Yeah.
Yours, but mostly vacations. Mine's just been pain and agony and defeat and whatever. Yeah, I botched it again. Another episode comes out late because I just couldn't sit at this computer and edit. Even though in the unedited version of that podcast, I promise it'll be out by Thursday. It wasn't.
Oh, we understand and life happens, and we just are all hoping that you can find some resolution to your health issues.
Yeah, me too, because this is getting crazy now. It's been like 2.5 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah. And your kids are home now.
Yeah, yes. Yes, they are all day in the house. They're going to start going stir crazy because my kids' school wasn't closed until 2 days from now, actually. But it was all half days. So we felt no reason in going in for them not to learn in half days.
Mm-hmm.
But I still got on the New York City subway and went to work.
Oh.
Yeah,
please
fun.
Be careful. Yeah.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Buy up all the toilet paper, apparently, because that's what crazy people do.
Seriously. I went into Costco today. I could not believe the empty shelves that I saw. It actually scared me a little bit and reminded me when I moved to Houston in 2005 and we had Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans and then Rita come straight for Houston. And that was the scariest in my life that I had ever been, was this hurricane coming. And now to see empty shelves again. I remember in Houston going to like Home Depot and empty shelves everywhere, and going to the bank and not being able to withdraw money because all the cash was gone, and not being able to get any gasoline. There was no gasoline in the city of Houston. That was truly scary. And then to go into Costco today and see the same thing. It's scary times, but we don't need to be so scared. Just wash your hands, keep that social distance, be smart.
So it's funny you bring that up because my mother-in-law said the same thing. She survived, we survived Sandy. My house was never in any real danger from Sandy, but hers was. And she said, it's just like Sandy. There's no food anywhere. Except the difference then was I was driving to Pennsylvania 3 times a week where they had food and gas and all that other stuff. And I was bringing it back. Mm. There's nowhere to go to bring it back now.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, it's insanity, but
yeah.
Well, this too shall pass, I suppose. They keep telling me that.
Yes, it will. Well, you can find the network on Twitter and Facebook at UFP Earth. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can message the network at contact@ufp.earth.
You love doing that line, even when it says host, too.
Oh, my gosh, I do.
It's okay.
I'm just so excited to be podcasting with you again. Let's get to the discussion.
Well, here's the crazy thing is I really don't even know your feelings on any of the 3 I podcasted with other people.
Okay.
I know the one that I didn't podcast with you, but I didn't really talk to you about that one. So you don't know what I think about that one. And I have no idea what you think of the other three other than Troy stole the show. I would disagree with you, however, but she was great, but Girardi stole the show.
No, Troy did.
No. That's called bias, but Girardi definitely stole the show. Had none of that stuff had happened, maybe, but it did.
The looks and the feeling when Troy was talking to Picard absolutely sucked me in, and I cried multiple times. I just absolutely loved. I mean, Riker was good, but the scenes where Troy and Picard, like, it totally stole the show completely.
Okay. No. So let's be fair. You'd say the same thing if she sat there and said nothing for 40 minutes. You would, and you're laughing and not saying anything on mic because you know I'm right. So it's a bit biased here. I'm not saying she wasn't phenomenal. She was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
It just didn't steal the show. That wasn't the episode for her to be the best person on the episode. Watching Girardi go through the mental breakdown she went through, feeling, okay, I'm going to use the term live on camera, but it's not live, was unbelievable. And the acting ability of her and the supporting cast in those scenes were unreal.
Yeah. So I do, yes, appreciate Girardi. And because remember how when we last podcast was 3 episodes ago, and I was like 5 episodes ago, whenever. And I told you, I love Girardi. Oh my gosh, that was so long ago.
That was episode 3.
When she gave the lists of reasons of why she was coming, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love her. And then to see what she did, I was heartbroken. And yeah, I didn't get to say this on the podcast. I was heartbroken. I'm like, no, Girardi, you can't be this double agent. I love you so much. But now we have redemption, and I love her even more.
No, she definitely didn't redeem herself. Whatever. She didn't. We'll get into that, but she most certainly did not. But more importantly, yeah, she's still not innocent. And she amazingly left off murder my ex-boyfriend as one of the reasons listed as being on the ship.
What do you mean?
Well, when they asked her, why do you want to be here so bad? She never said, well, I got to murder Maddox and Soji.
Well, of course she's not going to say that.
Well, okay, so she wasn't totally honest then either, huh?
No, she wasn't. No.
Liar.
But she's willing to turn herself in. You definitely can see the regret and remorse. No, I'm not excused. She should not have killed Maddox. But we definitely got to see more right at the beginning scene in that the admonition is what they call it. And those Romulans who are going their initiation into the I wrote it down. The Zhat Vash, and they have the vision, from the admonition, that little circular thing. And like, how many of them just kill themselves after seeing that vision?
All but 2.
So exactly. So Girardi was privy to that information from Commodore O, and she survived. And so that is why she was willing to kill Maddox and potentially Soji.
Being radicalized doesn't make it okay to kill people.
No, I know.
Also, and this hasn't been explained yet, we don't know that any of those visions are real. We don't know if what supposedly happened thousands of centuries ago actually happened. If you talk to the Greeks from 1,000 years ago, they tell you about Thor. We don't believe in that anymore. Just a point. I did point out in my notes, though, that so all of them kill themselves, 8 of the 10, because there was 11 there, but 8 of them were the ones who grabbed and saw, and one ripped their face off and bashed themselves on the skull with a rock and shot themselves and all that other stuff that happened, except for Narissa.
Yeah. Yep.
And her aunt. But her aunt was ripping her hair out, and they don't consider that crazy?
Yeah, she was on the verge.
But she was not considered insane, because at the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, towards the end of this sequence, we see that she is part of the Zhat Vash, and she doesn't go crazy until after she becomes a Borg and comes back. She's not considered insane. Right.
Yeah. So
if you start ripping your hair out, Amy, we're not podcasting anymore. You're insane.
Okay, good to know. That's the threshold.
I can't say because I don't have enough hair to rip, but
maybe your goatee.
Yeah, if I just start ripping it out in the middle of this, end this for good.
Okay. Duly noted. No, but I think it's interesting, her story. Ramda, I think is the aunt's name, where she has this vision and then she decides to, join the Zhat Vash and then gets taken over by the Borg. And so now that answers the question as to what specifically happened to that Borg cube.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay, well, this is my theory that because she had those, right, that vision, and then when the Borg assimilated her, that totally freaked the Borg cube out. And that's what led them to be cut off from the rest of the Borg community.
Maybe, except I can't imagine that they haven't assimilated other beings that had crazy visions like this.
Well, that's to accentuate how powerful and dramatic and terrifying this vision is.
Narissa mentions that you have so much despair you took out a Borg cube.
Right.
Or you believe that. I mean, I don't... That's a great story. Or it just happened now and it's coincidence. I mean, it just seems too far-fetched. They've taken over so many civilizations, many of them in the middle of civil wars, I would imagine. Because then they're easy to pick off. They would have seen some stuff. Yeah,
I'm sure. But I think the whole point is that this is the ending of all ends, right? This is galactic. This is...
I guess.
Yeah.
How you liking
that
those steaks?
Story. Yeah.
How you liking those steaks?
I know. They're right up there.
I've seen all this and went, man, Amy's not going to like it. I did, and I know because you haven't heard the last episode yet of our podcast, I did come up with a reason why this is okay compared to Discovery's way of doing it. Now, again, Discovery's doesn't bother me because in order for it to be someone not the captain, I've always said it has to be something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. However, now you have Picard, so it's like the captain is doing it, so you don't need the ridiculous stakes. The difference is the stakes aren't real. We're not actually trying to save the universe from being annihilated by synthetic life forms. That's just what the other side believes. And we're just trying to stop them from killing Soji. So the stakes really haven't raised. It's like an artificial raising because we're not concerned with their version of the future. Yeah, because we don't believe that version. Correct. So it's not like we're trying to stop that. So that's not really the stakes of the show. The stakes of the show are just keeping Soji alive. Yeah, I like that. I was really glad to not see Narek in this episode. I'm just going to say that. Definitely didn't want to see him and his sister, Narissa, and their inappropriate relationship. I was glad to not see that this episode. It didn't make sense he wasn't there, though. He's conspicuous by absence. So do you think at the very end, when they go through, do you think that that's Narek's ship? Yes. Or is that Narissa's ship? Narek. No. Yeah, you have to get him back into the story because he's just going to float around space forever. I mean, if he no longer could see where they were going, then he should have went back to the Borg cube. Mm-hmm. So he should have been in the episode. Yeah. But he's not in the episode. Yeah, maybe he saw what I was thinking, that he saw the transconduit warp that they created, and then he followed that. Yeah, that's exactly. But, put out his sensors. So... That's what I was thinking. It's asking for us to believe a lot of things happen in between those two times because he shouldn't have been anywhere near them at the moment. But this episode actually asks us to suspend disbelief a few times. Okay. I'm listening. My notes. But for instance, most of them are minor, but I'll give you one. When Rafi puts it together that the 8 stars were put together to tell you to come to some ring to see some message they have. I mean, she didn't say ring, but... Really? That's the leap you made? That's the first thing that came to your mind. Well, she does try to explain that she thought that the 8... Oh, I didn't She thought the 8 were people, but now she believes it's a place. The conclave of 8, was people, but now it's this octenary star system, which I think is so cool and like science fiction-y that I'm totally... hook, line, sinker into it. And then they're like, well, there's the septenary star system and blah, blah, blah. So I really like that science part of it. I mean, this is definitely science fiction. Who knows? There could be a system of 7
stars. There could be a system. Hey.
Just speaking scientifically speaking, I was just shaking my head, but since you're going to point it out to the listener that I was doing that,